The sound of steel-heeled boots clicking on polished stone echoed down the corridor as the prince strode towards the throne room. Guards stationed at each of the 24 massive stone pillars lining the hallway snapped to attention as he passed, the sound of chainmail softly jingling as they clicked their leather boots together in haste. The prince scowled at one of them as an unkempt soldier tried to adjust his poorly wrapped turban mid-salute. Had he been in less of a hurry, he might have had the guard flogged for this action, but he had no time to waste. He marched towards the large set of oak doors at the end of the hallway. The massive beams were riddled with iron studs and intricate designs, held to the castle's stone walls with enormous iron hinges nearly as long as a horse. The prince surged forward, flexing and unflexing his gloved hands in anxious annoyance. There creaked with the movement like an unoiled window shutter.
You, guard!
Yes, my lord.
Open the door now!
Right away, my prince. He pulled the heavy door open and the prince strode into the throne room without even breaking pace. The door slammed shut with an ominous boom, echoing down the hallway behind him. He marched up to the black marble dais at the end of the large throne room with calculated strides.
Father!
Faradar. Do come in. You've been expected.
Evidently. What is this about? I was in the middle of prepping for the tournament when your monkeys pulled me off the training field.
Shut your tongue, boy. This man's work to be done. General Valhalla, you are not addressing your stable hand in this room. That is my son, and Prince Faradar will be granted every honor and courtesy you would owe me. Are we clear?
Apologies, Your Eminence, for my subordinate's misguided words. The general has been in the wild these many months and seems to have left his courtesy with him, I'm afraid.
It's well worth the time and insolence, Your Majesty, I assure you, as I'm sure the prince will agree.
What of it, General? Were you successful in cutting a road from Ashton to Franghall? We were, my prince. There's now a clear road north cut through the mountain forests. Fantastic. What use is that to me? You could have sent me a written report.
My son, it is not significant because of what they did. It is significant because of what they found.
The king pulled something small and metallic out of the pocket of his royal robes and tossed it onto the table. The prince stared down at the large gold signet ring that landed in the middle of the map. The circle was carved to look like a coiled serpent, with its head resting atop the heraldic crest of the ruling family. Faradar flexed his fingers, causing several joints to pop. His jaw clenched as raw and unrelenting hatred began to simmer his blood into a raging boil. He snapped his gaze at General Valhalla, eyes flashing.
Where did you get this?
We took it off a traveling merchant our pickets detained 4 months ago. As soon as construction was to a point, we could pull 3 divisions out. We headed straight back to Talasan.
You fools!
As an apologies, my prince. We came as soon as it was prudent.
The prudence is a poor excuse for incompetence, General Hafe. Now, by the gods, he could be anywhere, and you have lost what could have been a warm trail.
He has been gone for over 17 years, my lord. No trail would have been hot or even warm had we dropped everything and left our post to chase after some no-account bastard that happened to make off with your petty prize a decade and a half ago.
He looked like he was about to say more, but General Valhalla's face quite suddenly went from red with contempt to a sickly shade of white. He stuttered, trying to speak, but the words were failing to come together comprehensively. He grasped the table for support as he choked on his own tongue. The other 2 generals jumped backwards, looks of confusion and horror on their face. He looked up at the prince, then followed his gaze to the Shahir. The Emperor was glaring at General Valhalla with an angry sneer, his left hand resting on his side while his wrists twisted around in a circular motion, fingers clenching and relaxing in a smooth rhythm. General Valhalla was turning a ghastly shade of purple now, his eyes beginning to look bloodshot and panicked.
General Valhalla, how dare you address my heir in such a manner? It would appear the wild has made a wild dog of you yet.
The king shoved his hand high with a quick thrust. General Valhalla shot backwards and upwards, as if moved by an invisible puppeteer. The Shahir bent his ringed fingers like talons gripping prey. Valhalla kicked and thrashed, gasping for breath, trying to scream.
I thought I had been quite clear, General. And unfortunately, I hate repeating myself.
General Valhalla screamed as the Shahir suddenly clenched his fist. The other three men could all hear the sounds of bone cracking as the general crumpled like he was being crushed in a vice. His helmet fell off his gray-streaked raven hair to the floor below with a deafening clang. The Shahir ripped his fist back and thrust it forward like a heavy-handed punch, and the general's broken body hurled towards one of the windows at the far left of the throne room, smashing through the glass and falling 100 feet to the ground below.
Now, does anyone have anything constructive and useful to add to the discussion?
No permission, sire. He said Chief traded him for something for his wife. He had it for about a year, but he swore he got it while visiting a village in the northlands of the wild.
Well done, General. I think we have what we need now to proceed with an effective strategy. Assemble your divisions and prepare General Valhara's former command as well. Be ready to move out in 3 days.
Yes, Your Grace. His wife?
It would appear so, my son.
Then what are we waiting for? Let me drive him to his knees and bring him back!
The divisions must be retested and re-equipped.
But we're wasting...
We waste nothing, you impulsive virgin. I have waited over 18 years for this, and I will not rush to startle our rabbit before our hounds are in position for the kill.
The Shahir held the ring in his palm and pondered over it. He closed his eyes and concentrated, his forehead furrowed in deep meditation. Slowly, the ring lifted off of his palm, spinning in midair as Shahir summoned all his energy into mumbling unintelligible incantations to a complex spell. The wind suddenly kicked up through the shattered window, and the torches in the room simultaneously went out. The blue twilight darkness enveloped them as the ring began to glow bright red, hovering inches from the Shahir's hand. Immediately, wisps of red, translucent smoke shot out of the signet and swirled around the room, beginning to take shape. Slowly, Faradar saw the shape of a man appear. Though he was not highly defined in detail, the overall form and likeness was enough to know what the man looked like. The wisp became a tall, broad-shouldered being, with long hair braided down his back. His sharp jawline was defined by a wild beard under high cheekbone. Faradar's fists balled up at his side in anger as he unmistakably recognized the man he hated more than any other being on this earth. A second shape began to form beside him, and another, till an entire scene laid out before them in misty red smoke. The Shahir continued muttering incantations as he surveyed the scene, taking in every detail, including the 3 unmistakable female forms that took shape beside the man. And behind the entire scene, almost in the back corner of the throne room, stood 2 peaks of a mountain range, and the 2 moons of the world fast rising from between them.
Oh, Alaharan. A family. Isn't that sweet?
He's got to still have it. There's no way he would entrust fate by hiding it somewhere he can't keep his eye on it.
Indeed. Very well. Take Valhara's former division as your own, my son. Alhara is in a village in the southern edge of the Ulmar Mountains. Look for where the moons rise from between the peaks, and you will find your revenge waiting for you. Your prey is completely unsuspecting and blissfully forgetful of what it was he should have always cowered in fear over.
To hear, my lord, is to obey.
Go now, my son. Take back what was taken from us. Bring me back what is mine and have your revenge.